The Uncontrollables. Outrageous? Sometimes. Thoughtful? Maybe. Offensive? Probably. Fabulous? Always. All right, everybody. This is episode 14 of The Uncontrollables. It's going to be probably the best one ever. I'm so sorry about this. Everyone bailed and just horrible time constraints and everything else. So it's going to be a one-woman show this week. It's just going to be me. So hopefully everyone's going to enjoy this because it's going to have... I just now in the past 10 minutes picked out what the topics were going to be by asking people on Facebook, what topics should I cover? I'll just go through the list of the 8 that I actually were real. They're talking about random things that don't actually exist. So I'm going to have to... kind of go through here the list of 8 and the 9 I've got so far. Frosty the Snowman, Equestria Girls, which I'm actually going to talk about these. The Illuminati, controlling pop TV stars, cuss words destroying the world / legislative morality. If I were president or in power, what would I do in a free market, in an absolute free market? What would I do? Let's see here. Best personal defense weapon and why. Pickles and tuna salad, the importance of. And best way to die. And they're talking about something called a weenus. I'm not really sure what a weenus is. And some girl has a weenus that we need to talk about. I'm slightly scared. My late night Facebook has gone. Oh, this is worse than late night Imager. So we're gonna go with that. But this is the Uncontrollables. I'm Maya Axton, the host, as always. Yeah. So before I begin, make sure to follow us on Facebook. I don't post nearly as much as I should. I want to post a lot more, but I've got so many pages I deal with. I deal with Indianapolis Cop Block, my Creating Maya page, the Uncontrollables page. I work on a couple other pages here and there, and it's like, good Lord, none of this is making me any money, so why should I really try that hard for everything? And I got to focus on one thing at least, maybe. I'd really like to be able to buy my own equipment, because if you see, I just now posted a picture on my wall of how my setup looks right now. It's all borrowed equipment. I'm using a flexible lamp as a mic stand right now, as a desk stand. And now people obviously are posting now on some new topics I've talked about in the past. So I'm kind of disappointed in some of these people that they're not listening to this show. I'm not really sure how many people listen to this show. I don't look at the analytics as much as I should, because I'm afraid that it's either going to be really high or really low. Really high for me would be like if 20 people a week listen to this show consistently, like the 20 same people, or at least 20 people downloaded the archives or listened to the archives. That'd be a lot for me. Which, in all reality, is kind of a bit. I've seen some other shows out there like on episode 90, and they're pulling in like 5 listeners. And it's like, I'm on episode 14, so, woo! Okay. A very good friend of mine, Haley, I'm not going to say her last name, but Haley, very good friend of mine, a fan of mine on Facebook. She's very underage, and it's kind of scary that this young, very, very intelligent young girl, young woman, decided to follow me on Facebook, and her mother's a big fan of mine, and so is she, and it's like, I have very young female fans, and it's kind of scary. People looking up to me. It's like, what am I supposed to do with that? So one of her first things that she wants me to look into is Frosty the Snowman. I don't even know how to talk about Frosty the Snowman. I mean, what is there to say about Frosty the Snowman? I mean, it's a story about a snowman that's alive, which... I guess it would have to be all magic, because there's no way to make a snowman move and the snow stay. And it's like, snowmen like turn into ice at night. So why didn't Frosty turn into a giant block of ice? I mean, it was very sunny in the show and the movie. So, why didn't he just turn into a giant block of ice and just not be able to move, or become a giant ice person or something? I don't know. Frosty the Snowman, how am I supposed to talk about that? Come on. It's I'm only a couple minutes into this, and I'm already pretty sure this is going to be the best show ever. I know I say that almost every week, But I really honestly think that this one will be the best because it's going to be basically me ranting for a very long time. I'm going to try not to say considering there's zero preparation in any of these topics. People are giving me topics to see if I can talk about them and fill 57 minutes worth of time. So that's what we're going to try to do. Let's see here. Oh, that's good. Someone mentioned how important the Constitution is, because they said that could take up a lot of time. And I was like, well, you don't forget I'm an anarchist and I don't really like the Constitution. She comes back with, well, how to hate the Constitution? Oh, now another one. Favorite non-sexual position. I honestly don't know what that means. What's a non-sexual position? Like sitting? Standing? I guess that's the end of that conversation, so that'd be like number 11. So we'll go to the next one, the Equestria Girls, which is, if you guys don't know, I'm a brony, which I'm a fan of My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, the reboot of the like Hasbro toy show. And it's basically about a bunch of little ponies. It's a little girl show, and there's a lot of people really interested in that. And its main following is like 18 to 35-year-old males. Some of it gets pretty dark and deep and gets into really weird stuff. And it's a lot of that's on 4chan and Reddit. So yeah, that obviously makes sense. And I've talked about bronies and stuff before, but they're getting ready to come out with a movie where the ponies magically cross over into the real world and they become like humanoids. They're in human form. Same different, like they have weird skin color and crap. And it's all animated obviously, and they become real and they deal with like real human problems and the adventure of finding out what it's like in a human world. Well, first off, when did they ever really say that there was a human world? What's up with that? That was never an MLP unless I missed something. I mean, it's a show about ponies. So why are they going and making them humanoid? They're freaking ponies. Isn't that the point? I don't even. It angers me because I'm a fan of the show. It's about ponies and magic and crap. Why do they have to go humanoid? Why do they have to do that? It's a very popular show, and they're not really reaching out to their fan base. Sadly, their fan base isn't who they want it to be. But I'm sorry, that's too bad. Just deal with it. Reach out to your fan base. And it's absolutely horrible. Absolutely horrible. So, we're going to the next one. And this one's retarded. I know I'm blowing through these really quick. I'll find one that just makes me rant for another 30 minutes. The Illuminati and pop TV stars. You know, I see this crap pop up on my feed and on the news and weird little places. I wouldn't call it news if it's popping up this crap. But the Illuminati and stuff and, devil worshippers are taking over the pop industry, and all these pop stars are throwing up, like Illuminati symbols. And anytime somebody does something with their eyeball or their hands in a triangle type motion or moves weird, it's some kind of Illuminati, Skull and Bones or any of that other crap. And it's like, why would the Illuminati, if they did exist, spend all that time going after pop TV stars or pop music stars and idols and all these weirdos anyway? I don't know who half of them are these days. I don't care. I horribly dislike all these people. But why doesn't anyone believe that the Illuminati would actually take any of this serious enough or spend the time to go after these and put demonic symbols and things? And I have a feeling that most of this is coming from religious people to a degree, or just really crazy Illuminati conspiracy theorists. But why would these people be afraid of this, or why would it even matter? I mean, should they be throwing up like I love Jesus symbols or something? Really? I mean, if they just sat there and attack these people doing anything else, it wouldn't really matter if it was maybe a Muslim thing. But I think it's mostly religious people going, oh my God, they're gonna devil worshiping and half the artists out there aren't. So just some of the big names, not all of them, but some of the big names, and then some of the other big names aren't. So it's like, if they were really that powerful and they're going after these huge names, don't you think they'd have everybody doing it? It's like, I think Keisha and Rihanna and all this stuff, and it's like, they used to say stuff about like Dee Snider and some of those bands, and Ozzy Osbourne, all this stuff, say they're all Satan worshipers. Well, I mean, Ozzy kind of kind of, well, Ozzy was a bad example, but just some of those older bands and everything else, they said that these people were trying to corrupt the world, and, everyone's always blamed some group of people or whatever is most popular at the point as being corrupted, and it's a big agenda and it's some plan. Like, there's a show that was just coming out on the same network that has My Little Pony that has they're calling it transsexual Breitbart, that crap website. Sorry, I'm so missing Breitbart because I know he was a douche, but at least he, did things a little bit above board and actually reported on things, but whatever. But they're coming out with the show where the main character is like a 12-year-old boy, or 12 or 14-year-old boy, and has a magical ring that turns him into a female superhero. And so it's not transsexual. It's a gender-bending show. There's nothing really trans about it because the character is using a magical device to become a completely different person. That's not trans. And evil liberals are trying to force this on all of our kids, and we need to make sure this doesn't stay on air, all those poor innocent children, and they're going to be corrupted. I'm like, by what? Comics have had gender bending since their inception. Think of Bugs Bunny. All of you people have ever watched Bugs Bunny. How many times have you seen him cross-dress? How many times? Half the characters on there, half the skits on some of those old cartoons, even Tom and Jerry, had gender-bending skits and scenes and everything. I mean, I'm pretty sure the guy that created Bugs Bunny, I know it was one of the people either did his voice or created him or whatever. I could look this up. I'm sitting right in front of the computer, but was a transvestite crossdresser. I use both terms, but I know one term's supposedly bad now. We're not supposed to use it, but transvestite, transgender, they fit better than saying crossdresser because most people think crossdresser is some weird pervert and it's only about masturbation or something, so I don't like using that term. Transvestite's a little bit better, I guess, now. I don't know. It sounds more scientific to me anyways. But, Bugs Bunny and his creator were like that, and they never really said it. Well, they did say stuff about that, but they used this cartoon. It's a ring. I mean, think about it. In Thor's been turned into a girl a couple times. His father figure dude turned him into a chick as punishment because Loki convinced him to. And, maybe that's not that bad. At least the superhero world, when they do play with gender, it's usually the superheroes, and it's a challenge. It's something they have to learn how to deal with and then work through, or something else, and then they get through it or whatever. And maybe that's not so good, but but it's never really a big negative thing. It's not, in the comic book world, even this little show that's coming up where the character has a magic ring and they're a crime fighter. Anime has a lot of different gender variation stuff in it, and that's not usually that bad. It's a little bit more realistic in anime anyways. Mainstream TV, like Emily, my girlfriend's been watching Queer as Folk, and I've been watching it with her. She got me hooked on it. I just have to know what happens next. It's actually a really addictive show. Way too many sex scenes for my taste. I'm not a prude. If I wanted a sex scene and I wanted to watch that crap, I'd go watch porn. Long drawn out sex scenes in movies and shows suck. But we'll actually bring up that here in a bit. But but in mainstream TV, even on that show, I'm 3 seasons in, and they've never actually had an instant where they showed an actual transgender or transsexual character. They've all been drag queens. They've all been weird cross-dressing instances. Things like that. Even a show like that completely bastardizes the trans community and plays off some of the worst stereotypes. So it's people thinking these shows are going to somehow destroy the world. It's absolute malarkey. It really is. So it's back to the main point. What I was talking about is the Illuminati and the pop TV stars. Who cares? Even if this super magical group of old, super powerful rich people, the only thing they want to do is spread Illuminati symbols and everything. Who cares? Nobody knows who the Illuminati is. If they ever heard the word, they don't think it's real. So why would they try to influence people with their own symbols and gestures and things? Does that make any sense? Why? Why would that even be a relevant thing to do? Why even take that task up? It makes zero sense. And it's a waste of my time to even have to flip through it on my newsfeed on Facebook. Okay, so next one. We've got cuss words as a cuss words and the degradation of language and no cursive writing ruining, just absolutely ruining our world, our country, and our morals and our value system and everything else. And we'll kind of tie this in with legislative morality. Cuss words as, ruining it. With the words carry no power unless we give them power. I can say there's certain words I won't say on here because it's not my network, so I can't say them. But there's a number of words, and I have a very vulgar vocabulary. I have a very different way of talking and conversing with people. You folks here only know one way. When I'm in person, it's a very, very more colorful, very more. Yeah, there we go. That's smart. It's a much more colorful variation of speech. And I worked construction when I was younger. I was in the military. I worked some more construction after that. And then I worked a little bit more construction after that. And it's like, who doesn't cuss? Everyone has their own way of cussing, but for some odd reason, it's this super offensive thing. Now, if I had employees and there were, the employees I do have, I recommend they don't cuss in front of customers because you're providing a service. You're there to make money. No one needs to cuss. But honestly, because that's, you don't want to piss off your customers. They're giving you money. Yeah, you can just not cuss. But I wouldn't really care if they did anyways. If the customer didn't leave a tip, they can just, by all means, say, F you. I'm not endorsing that. I'm really not. But they're not ruining the world. They're not ruining civilization. Cuss words. Their cuss words have changed, and what words are good and what words are bad have changed so much over the past 50 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. You hear the word gay being slung around all over the place, and fag and everything else. They're taking, we took back the word queer. I say we. I mean, a group of people took back the word queer. I mean, not everybody did it collectively, but people did. Now we're using it again. Everything else, and some words become offensive, some don't. So what's the big deal? Cuss words. The Bible has all kinds of crazy language in it, and we don't talk like that anymore. So for all these Christians that have a problem with cuss words, why don't you talk exactly how the Bible was originally written in that kind of speech? If you say anything outside of the Bible, because it obviously probably contains about every word there is that Christians would need anyways, not like they need a big vocabulary. And why don't you guys just use only words in there? And from the original transcription, we got to go all the way back. People talk about going back to the Constitution and going back to the Bible. Well, that thing's old. Why didn't it need updated? Why didn't it need translated? Why weren't you people good enough to keep language exactly the way it is? Why don't we speak like the Founding Fathers did? If they were so great and awesome and their speech was so eloquent and great, why don't we still talk like that? Because language evolves. I mean, do you think you could fit? We have more words now. We have more descriptive words. People have more things. We have more things in our world and more things created. We can't keep filling our language up with all these pretty words when half the words we're throwing out are adjectives and nouns because there's so much crap to describe and know and do in our world. We have a very descriptive language, or, well, I don't want to say descriptive, do I? Because we don't really describe things that well anymore consistently. But we have more things to talk about and many different kinds of people to talk to. So just one broad, simple way of speaking like Old English and everything else just doesn't cut it anymore. It's just not going to work. But now, I think people are plenty smart because you can look and maybe they don't have the most perfectly formed sentence and grammar. They don't use all these big, I'm horrible with remembering what the parts of grammar and everything else are called because I never really cared in school. I can watch people talk all day long in very intelligent, long drawn-out conversations and use pretty simple language, but not everyone even knows that language because we know so much. There's so much information. We don't have time to perfect our language when we're running into a million different things. And not all language crosses over into all subjects. It's extremely difficult to do. I mean, for me it is anyways. I don't know, I might just be talking out of my ass and I'm absolutely wrong on this, but I don't really care, so you can kiss my ass that I'm talking out of. So kiss me on the lips. And that kind of moves into legislative morality. Is that we have in Indiana we have blue laws that we can't buy alcohol on Sunday, and I still think we can't buy cars on Sunday. There's a couple other crazy little rules, smoking bans, just, liquor licenses, things like that. These legislative morality that you can only have so much of this, you can only do so much of that. That's what half of the taxes are, and sin taxes and everything else, and the taxes on cigarettes is legislative morality. Is that these people felt groups of people had their morals, and they felt the need to enforce them on the rest of society. Now, that usually leads back to religious people, churches and everything else. And, people are like, well, you can't let the faggots marry. Oh, my God, that's against, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, That's your version of morality. Since not all religions agree that gay marriage is wrong, we would only be legislating morality for a bunch of people. We're not a democracy in this country, and we can't rule that way. So you can't go and say your morals are better, even if it is for the betterment of individuals or of mankind. You can't really objectively say that. And you can't, and it's proven laws. The prohibition with alcohol made shit worse, a lot worse. You'd think we would have learned from that when you start trying to control things with government force, it gets worse. The drug war ramped up, so did the crime and everything else. It's absurd. Plus, when you pass a new law and you start enforcing it, the crime rate goes up. Well, I wonder why, because you just made a new law, and new laws get passed all the time, so the crime rate should keep going up as long as they keep enforcing laws, but they don't really want to enforce laws. They want to make tickets and fines, because that way they don't have trials. People just pay fines by taking, quote-unquote, plea deals. That's what paying the fine is. You should take everything to court because you're being charged with a crime. Take it to court and get a jury trial. Period. Never take a plea deal. The best way to fight any law is to fully enforce the law. So, I mean, honestly, if you want to be a douchebag, go sit down in your local metro area and report crimes all day long. There's always hotlines. Just go down there and report every crime you can see. Just go where all the yuppies and the hipsters and the rich little fancy people are that love these laws and everything, and just go report them for every single last thing you can. Enforce the law to the fullest, and people will fight it. Guaranteed. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and drop that. That's another long rant again. I'm about 20 minutes in, and I really don't know how I'm going to do this. So number 5, if I were president / in charge, a lot of libertarians and people say that, you know, we're fighting for freedom and we're fighting for limited government and individuality and everything else. But if we were in charge, we'd be dictators, tyrants, dictators, warlords. And sometimes I believe that's true, because we think everyone else is stupid because they are. And we're just like, well, we're just going to do things for you. Basically, power corrupts and so on and so forth. And it's absolutely true. So if I were president, I would abolish most everything. And before all the money went away and the manpower left, I would funnel it all into my own personal force, and I would conquer the world. And I wouldn't attack China, anything like that. I would go through, say, like South America. I would take over Mexico. I would take over Canada. I'd basically use my power and the army like I play Risk. And I just played Risk tonight. And I would just, all the bordering countries, I would just start taking them over. And breaking down their governments, completely breaking down their governments, destroying any of their police forces, anything, just absolutely obliterating it, dismantling all their government and tearing it down enough that they couldn't easily, or they wouldn't want to easily rebuild it, and then leaving them alone, opening up free trade. I'd be like the free trade tyrant. This probably wouldn't end well. There'd probably be a coup, but that's what I do. I would free all of South America and all of Mexico and everything. I just free everything up and go, free market! And then have a giant army where people would donate to the army. It's a donation and volunteer only army after I take over the entire North and South continents. North America and South America. I'd take both of them over, all the way up. I'd get that damn islands we gave Russia back, because screw Russia. And I'd do all that. I'd probably hand a hand out to Japan by giving them Hawaii, because I don't want Hawaii. It's out there and I don't care. And then basically build up around all the borders and have one giant border patrol. Not like gates and stuff, and who cares about immigrants, but just in case anybody like China or Russia wants to attack us with the standing military. Everything else is volunteer, and the government would be there to help. Like, we'd build the network from the army we use to free everybody and dismantle it, but leave it, we'd sell everything off, basically. Sell all the uniforms, the guns, the tanks, everything. Sell it off to people that live around the coastlines and, a little ways in, and sell it off to them for a pretty cheap price. Then take all of that money and put it into a giant pot with a kind of like a free market, freely elected, maybe kind of board that just helps manage communications in between all the coastal areas and everything else, and let everybody know kind of roughly where all the materials are and everything else, so we know where the weak and strong points are, so we can help protect ourselves. And that would be the extent of what I would leave behind. What they do with it after that, I don't care. That's what I would do. If I had all the time in the world and I'd already built this master plan, what I'd do is I'd create a one-world government, join the UN, do all this other stuff, create a one-world government, and then collapse it. Just completely implode it. And it sounds really good, doesn't it? It sounds like a really cool idea. But I'm pretty sure once I got in there, I'd be like, this is freaking awesome. I want to just be like, I'm going to do more than Alexander the Great and crush everybody. And honestly, that's probably what I'd end up doing. Who knows? But my original idea, I think, is pretty awesome because, I mean, it violates the NAP to a degree. It's still using some taxation, kind of. Well, not really, because, I mean, once I built the army and I compiled everything and took all the money and just did everything, I would basically stop taxation after, like, right as that stopped. And to be like, hey, this is my plan, guys. You guys want to help? If not, I'm going to go until I can't go no more. So, yeah, I think that would be, wouldn't be horrible. I mean, Adam Kokesh's new thing, because, the D.C. march is off. So that's kind of crazy news. It's now all 50 states are marching on the Capitol on July 4th at 9 a.m. Well, 9 a.m. for me in Indiana. In Indianapolis. I don't know. I haven't really paid attention to see if all the other times are different. It may be. It may not be. It might just be 9 a.m. for everybody at their own time zones. But we're doing our march basically demanding that the state governments secede from the federal government and basically dissolve the federal government. They have 1 year to meet their demands. Kind of a tall order. I'm going to be going. I'm not going to D.C. anymore. I'm going to be going to downtown Indianapolis, Indiana with a bullhorn and a shotgun and going, hey, yo. So I'm going to just basically constantly read off the little ditty that Adam Kokesh, and that's what he's been doing when I just talked to him the other day on a radio show, on Gary Snyder's show. He pretty much makes sure every time he's on somebody's show, he reads this paragraph off, and it's on all the event pages, so go to it, and it's on the original DC event page too. Go there and read it, but I'm going to basically, speak that off, the blowhorn, and then talk. I basically rant like I'm ranting right now about how this is not about the Second Amendment. This is not about the Constitution. These are about human rights. We are not the Tea Party. I am not a leader. There are no leaders. We're all leaders. Kind of basically something like that. I'm probably going to work on it a little bit more, but that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to try to kind of help organize this a little bit and try to make sure that this does not come off as some little Tea Party Republican Second Amendment crap rally, because this is not about the Second Amendment. This is not about the Constitution, because we don't care. We have human rights. The Constitution does not grant us our rights. It limits the government's rights. That needs to be a point well made, is that we don't have Second Amendment rights. The government has no right to come after. Oh, God, there's a lot of rights in there. It's a limit on government and how far it can infringe. That's what the Constitution is. It's supposed to be a guideline for us to limit the government. It doesn't actually do that. We limit the government. We do. Not the Constitution. We do. The Constitution is a guideline by which we do limit the government. Nobody seems to talk that way, really. When they mention the Second Amendment, they think like, wow, if it wasn't for that piece of hemp paper and those old farts that wrote it so many hundreds of years ago, we wouldn't have these rights. And it's like, no, that's an absolute crock of shit. Absolute. Our rights are ours. You can't take them away. You can't take them away by saying you have a felony. You can't take them away by saying, well, we think you're mentally unstable, so you shouldn't be allowed to do this anymore. No, you can't take away rights. You can't. It's impossible. I don't care. It's impossible. You can't take away people's rights for being faggots. You can't take away people's rights for being lesbians. It's just no, you can't. No, rights, they're ours. And I'm not saying health care is a right, or access to health care is a right, or minimum wage is a right. No, your basic human rights to life, liberty, and property. property is an interesting subject we don't really want to get into because that could take 3 or 4 episodes to even scratch the surface on, because if anyone's ever argued with a mutualist and an ANCAP and an ANSOC and an ANCOM and any of the other ANs out there, there's a lot of ANs. AN's a very popular name in the liberty community, but you realize that the word property means a great many different things to a great many different people. So be careful with that word when you use it. But I'm using it in the very simplest form possible. So yeah, that's what I would do as president, and that's oh God bless. That's about all there is there. I'll go to the next one. Yay! What would I do in an absolute free market? What would I buy? What would I do? Would I try to start a new business? I mean, you know, if we had a free market, like I woke up tomorrow and it was all rainbows, puppy dogs, and free markets, what would I do? Well, what would I do? Well, since I'm broke now, and if I woke up tomorrow and it was a free market, I'd still be broke. So I would probably try to find a job. I'm a co-owner of a small business. We're still trying to get off the ground and really, you know, try to build. You know, things take time. I'm been working with many other people on side projects and everything else. I probably wouldn't do much different until everyone started realizing that we live in a free market now. We can start doing things. Would I start? Actually, you know what? I have a really green thumb. I'm very good at growing gardens, fruits, vegetables, things like that. I would start growing drugs and then grow the highest quality I can and the kind for more medical procedures or some of the really odd stuff that's not really that huge because it's hard to do or whatever, are really expensive because drug prices are like that. And I'd grow whatever strands of whatever I needed at that point. I would make holistic drugs. I'd grow, what's the crap they make like Oxycontin and crap out of that we have in Afghanistan? Poppies. Grow stuff like that or whatever I could and make basically the holistic version of those drugs. Instead of pumping them up and processing them and everything else, just make them as pure as possible. Let's see here. I don't know what I'd do. I really don't. I don't even know how to answer that question because it's really hard to say because, I mean, because it would take money, it would take time to do all that. What are everybody else going to do? A lot of people would start doing drugs. You're like, woo, I'm going to do drugs. Ah! And if you didn't have government involved in everything, you'd still want to have insurance and coverage to make sure if I went over to somebody's house and cut down a tree for them, I'd still want to be licensed and insured. Not licensed, insured, saying that, if the tree accidentally falls on this person's house, I have insurance to cover that, or an agreement saying, whoever's insurance is going to pay for whatever, and you can't sue me. It's a, act of God or whatever. And act of Cthulhu, most likely, because, God's almighty and powerful. Cthulhu's kind of an evil bastard. So, he's constantly dicking with people. So I'm pretty sure because anything bad happens, like the tornadoes in Oklahoma, they're Cthulhu's fault. Yeah, they are. The guy with tentacles on his face. H.P. Lovecraft. Just, Google it. But I that's a really hard topic to really get into is because what would that be like? It would be amazing. Things would explode from there. So many things would move and happen because there's not all this government crap to cut through. There's no longer these IP and monopoly laws or laws that create the monopolies with IP and everything else. What would lawyers do? Because you can't go around suing people because there aren't any more courts. I think the economy would absolutely explode into just awesomeness. If you were one of those people that just sat behind your desk and tippity-tapped away at a computer for 8 hours a day and collected your 40 hours a week paycheck and didn't really try that hard and don't really have any real skills and were a government employee, well, you're just shit out of luck. I guess you're just going to starve to death. And you know what? I don't care. Good riddance. You were a government employee and you just did what you had to get by, and all these other people that do just enough to get by. Because they're getting that government assistance and everything else, they just do just enough to get by. And, I wouldn't really care. Now, because this will probably eventually come out. I've been filing for unemployment for like 4 months, and I messed up, and I didn't realize that they, incompetent government website couldn't fix it enough to say that, hey, you messed up, so we're denying you. I didn't know, so I had to finally go in after 4 months. But government, if I could take food stamps, I would. If I could do welfare, I would. I actually probably can if I just changed the address on my driver's license. I could probably get all of that. Because I haven't made a dime for a minute. Yeah. But I'm not opposed to doing all that. all that stuff there, if you've worked before and you've paid a bunch of taxes, and I've paid a crap load of taxes because I've always been paid at really high rates, but they've always been weird. So they tax me at this super high rate thinking I make a lot of money, but I don't. I just work less hours. I get paid super high rates for less hours and longer shifts. So I always get screwed. So I've paid plenty in taxes. And you know what? I don't have a problem with people taking money from the government. I really, really, really don't. Now, when you think you're a better or you're a hero, like doing a job for the government, it's a different story because you're helping the government. Taking money from them? No, everyone else is willfully paying taxes. So I don't really see an issue with that. Taking tax money, giving money to the government, bad. Giving help to the government, bad. Taking money from the government, not bad. Now, if you just sit there on your tush and I just use tush. If you just sit there on your tush and don't do anything, don't try to build a business, don't try to employ people, contribute, make, build, do, then yeah, you're a degradate and you're an asshole. And you're sucking off the system by not, but I'm not going to force people to have to contribute. I mean, they have a way to get money. Screw it. Why not? I mean, that's kind of how I feel about that. Hey. Let's see here. The best personal defense weapon. That's a really, really hard question. Go figure a Marine would ask that. Hoorah. I think that's Marines, right? Hoorah. I'm sorry. I never really cared much about the Marines when I was in the military because they're all a bunch of morons, except this guy. This guy's actually pretty smart. Went to high school with him. Nice guy. But best personal defense weapon and why? I would probably actually go with the Siega 12. It's a semi-automatic 12-gauge shotgun. It is built on behind the same principles. And by the way, actually, Kalashnikov himself, I'm probably saying his name wrong. Well, it's Russians, I'm not Russian. And it's built just like an AK-47, and the Siega line came out was like the 308, the 7.62, the 5.56, the 12-gauge, 410, 20-gauge, 12-gauge, I think it said, and I think there's more. It's basically a 12-gauge AK-47. It's all black. It's awesome. But it's a very reliable gun. Actually, out of some of the more advanced kind of guns have been coming out, because there's a couple different, there's the KSG-12, if I'm saying that right, is from Kel-Tec, and it's a double-tube pump-action shotgun. It's junk. It's not junk. It's not necessarily as reliable, but you have two tubes, and you have to select the tube, and it's still a pump. It's short. It's nice. It's kind of tiny. I actually wanted one for a while until I looked at Siega, but you look at there's another one that came out, and this thing's got like two of them stacked on top of each other, and it's got big holes in it, and I've watched like 8 or 9 different people test them out, and they jam and they break, and there's all these problems. There's a couple others out there that are just junk. Like you got the USAS 21, which is just, it's been in a couple movies, and it has a bunch of really special shells and stuff like that, and it's this huge, bulky, super expensive, blah, blah, blah crap, and it's supposed to be automatic. Automatic anything's garbage, people. Automatic sucks. The Siega's semi-automatic. You can get a 5-round, 10-round, or 12-round magazine, or you can get a 10-round, 12-round, 20, or 30-round drum. Yes, for 12 gauge. I have a 12 and a 20-round drum, and it's freaking it's heavy. But you think you got 20 rounds of double-aught buck? I'm sorry, nothing's surviving that. I don't care what kind of arm it's wearing, nothing's surviving that. It's just because you can shoot it as fast as you can pull the trigger. Your arm will probably fall off, and your shoulder will be like an absolute mushy mess, not mash. And I did 12 rounds as fast as I could, and that was about all I could take because I put high-powered shell or high loads in there. I wasn't shooting just cheap, buckshot or anything. And I should have been, but it was very painful and very hard to hold on to. And that's before I was taking copious amounts of hormones that destroyed my muscle mass. But I think that'd probably be your best overall platform. Now, there's a multitude of things you can do with it. You can shorten it down and make it kind of look like an AK-74U, which is like that little tiny miniature AK-47 everybody runs around with. You could do that in the short barrel, kind of a pistol grip with an collapsible buttstock like on the MP, the UMP 45 that's more popularized with that. that's a little too short, too small. What I did with mine is I put a Kushna-Pup bullpup conversion on it. I take off the back buttstock, saw off the tangs, so it's a permanent modification on the sawing off of the tangs. I mean, it's on the receiver, so you're actually cutting parts of it off that you can never put back on. Well, you could, but you wouldn't want to because you'd heat up the metal and everything else. But beyond that, and it shortens it way down. It shortens, I think, overall by I want to say 19 inches. But it makes it a bullpup, so it fits nice, easy, and tight in. There's other bullpup conversions out there. This one's the sleekest, easiest, just nicest one. Now, it depends on what version of the Sega you get too, because some of them, the front sight is actually, or not the front sight, the one of the sight on the top of the receiver. I don't know exactly what everything's called on the AK-47 because I'm horrible with remembering these things. Is that it's actually screwable. You can screw it off. It's actually drilled out and there's threads and everything. Mine, however, isn't. So putting a rail to fit on top of that, because almost all AK-47 parts will fit onto all these Siegas. Like I said, they're built exactly like this AK-47. You can put the rail on it, and then you can put all your scopes and all kinds of random stuff on there. And there's other Siegas, but for me, Indiana, close quarters combat, and CQB and personal defense, it's going to be your all-around best weapon. Because especially when you put that Kushna-Pup on there, it's going to just really shorten it out. It's going to make it tight. It easily fits the drum on there. It fits the magazines real well. My favorite, the size-wise, is the 12-round drum. It's the perfect size. It fits in there nice. It's not too heavy. It's good, and it still looks super menacing. And it's 12 rounds. You can always get the little packs and put more on you. So that's what I'm going to go with as far as the best personal defense weapon is this Siega 12 with the Kushna-Pup bullpup conversion on it, sitting with the 12-round drum of double-up buck. And it takes 3-inch nitro mags too, so you can put as big as a shell as you want in there, and it's gonna hurt. It's gonna make people have bad days, very bad days. That's for the big one. I mean, and then honestly, I got to put my opinion on what I think the best sidearm is. I don't have an opinion on that. Actually, I do. An original 1945 Remington Rand 1911, which is I have for sale. It's probably the best weapon ever, and everyone should carry one. So I have one for sale. I have the Forbes paddle holster, and it's for the right side. I also have another paddle holster for the left side. Well, it's multi-sides, I guess. That's the extra 2 magazine magazine holders. I have a Kimber 8-round magazine and 2 7-round original magazines, and I have a couple boxes of ammo. So if you want to buy it, I'll let it go for $14.50. Yeah. Let's see here. Number 8, next subject is the importance of pickles in a tuna salad. I'm just going to go ahead and say absolutely. If you do not put pickles in your tuna salad, or at least relish, I usually do like a dill relish, and then take some pickle, different variation of pickle, maybe a really, really, strong flavored like garlic pickle, and I'll slice it up, put the chunks in there along with the celery. If you don't have at least one kind of pickle or relish in your tuna salad, I'm going to eat it and then puke it up all over your floor if that's what you offer me to eat. And that's what everybody else should do, because that's a sin against humanity. I don't care if you're allergic to pickles, don't eat tuna salad. Period. Just that's all there is to it. All right, well, we're about 44 minutes in. Who knows what's going to happen next? Okay, I got number 9. Best way to die. Why do people ask me these questions? There's 3 things surrounding my own death. It's 1, you're going to be able to see it from your house. 2, it's going to take a really long time to clean up. And 3, it's going to be on the news. So that's the 3 things surrounding my death. So I have the best way to die, and I'm never going to share what that means and where it came from and what's the story behind it. I'll never share that with anybody. I've been saying it for a very, very long time. That's been my saying. And so I'm not really going to go into that. There's a multitude ways, good ways to die. I mean, I guess basically not dying through suffering, like going through 6 months of chemotherapy to live an extra 2 months past that. I guess that's about one of the worst ways to die. Starving to death in a dark, damp, cold hole. A dark, deep, dry, hot hole would be bad too. There's a lot of things I could imagine being a very horrible, horrible death. Good deaths, anything that's not a horrible death. Wow, it's a horrible answer to that question. But if I wish I had better questions. Maybe I should ask these questions at a better time of day. Not at 2-something odd o'clock in the morning on a Friday night or Saturday morning on Facebook. That was a horrible idea. The last one, not the last one. I'm sure I'm going to have more. I still got a couple minutes to fill up. But time travel. Where would I go? Why would I go there? What would I do? Time travel. I've caught up on the new run of the 2005 series of Doctor Who, and he takes all these people, all these places, and do all these little adventures and stuff. And I'm a Whovian, by the way. I'm a brony Whovian that needs to have a crossover. It really does. So if anybody ever listens to this and can contact the right people, we need a MLP FIM and Doctor Who crossover. Time travel. Where would I go? Why? Blah, 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 blah. And I don't think I would go back in time. But if I had to, if there's no forward time travel, if I could only go backwards, where would I go? I'm not really sure, because I don't want to say, hey, let's go back 1 million years. Well, what happened if the Earth is really only maybe a couple 100,000 years old? Or maybe what happened if that was just like the worst time ever to go back? We can't prove it. We don't really know. I wouldn't want to go back that far. Plus, it might get really boring. The lack of other human life and, the animals wanting to eat me and so on and so forth. I don't want to go back that far. That's a really, really difficult question. And I've thought about it before, and depending on the conversation, the context, and everything, I'll say, I'll go back to right before they started talking about the Constitution and warn them about how bad it is and talk to them and say, anarchism for the win. They'd look at me when I said for the win, and they'd probably shoot me, call me a demon or something. I think, honestly, I would go back to about a year before when they hypothesized the Catholic Church was started and how that came about, and I would make sure that didn't happen. I might even do that with, say, Joseph Smith and Mormonism, because that's only, 40 years old now? No, sorry. Or I would actually go back to when they first decided what books to include in the Bible, and I know there's times and dates, and there's a name for all this, but when they were deciding on what books to put into the Bible. And I would go back to that period of time, and I would take all of them and, take pictures of them with my cell phone and be like, okay, I have every book that they considered putting in the Bible, and so now I can say, hey, all you idiots that say you follow the Bible, here's all of it. Good job. You guys are morons, because you only follow nitpicked, changed, edited, politicized parts of the Bible. You don't have all of it, and it's all been destroyed by mankind and man's hand. So, good job being idiots. I have the whole thing. Now, if I could go forward, I don't know. That's how far forward where I want to go. Here's always a nifty thing to think about when you're talking about time travel. Can you come back? If you can go backwards or forwards, can you come back? Now, if I was going back in time to say with a Bible thing, or for the church thing, I wouldn't care. I'd be like, I just did humanity a massive favor by stopping the Mormon or the Catholic Church. Good for me. I can die in this time period now if they hadn't already hunted me down and killed me anyways. But if I went back to the Bible thing, I'd really want to be able to come back after that and see what the entire Bible really might have changed and done things. But that wouldn't really be a huge deal if I was going back in time to change something massive, so I wouldn't really care. Plus, my head might explode from all the changed memories, or I might not just exist, and we can get really into the nitty-gritty of time travel. Now, if I can go forward, if I couldn't come back, I want to go far into the future. I want to go, I'd say 250 years into the future. 250 years, that's a nice step. Think about 200-something odd years ago when this nation was founded, almost 250 years ago, I guess. 1776, or can I not count? So it was 200 plus years ago. I'd kind of want to go from whenever I had the time machine, I want to go exactly the same amount of time that at that point back to 1776 into the future. to see, what in that same period of time where I went from from like no government, the Articles of Confederation, to small government, to this massive tyrannical government we have now, what's the same period of time going to do next? Is it going to change? Is it going to get better? Are people going to wisen up? And if they do wisen up, is it going to be stable, long-lasting, and everything else? If I could come back, I'd want to go about 50 years into the future and then come back, because I know exactly what was happening, what was going on, and what I should do next, and learn from the mistakes those people, that timeline made, and come back and change everything else. Wow, I think about this way too much, don't I? Oh, my God. Oh, crap.
Hey guys, this is Rupert from Survivor, and you're listening to The Uncontrollables.
Hey there, Rupert. How about you tell us a little bit about Rupert's Kids?
For the last 22 years, we've been running a mentoring program teaching young men and women how to have that sense of self-worth, that work ethic, how to get themselves out of the system, out of trouble, and make that legal living. Check it out, rupertskids.org.
Is it true that the charity doesn't take any state, federal, or local government monies?
We have never in 22 years taken a government dollar, no city, state, federal funding. We do not even take grant dollars. If people want to donate to us, it's because they want to give money to help their community.
Rupert, what is pirate for donate?
Is pirate for don't forget to donate.
There's another million topics I get. And actually, I think I like this idea, is just having people give me topics, just random topics, and go, hey, these are the top 10 topics I want you to talk about. See if you can do it. And I don't really want like the weirdest topics in the world, or like, hey, let's try to stump Maya and see if she can't talk about this, like Frosty the Snowman. I mean, I'm pretty sure I could almost rant about anything for an hour. There's many people out there that have heard me. Like there used to be a time where I'd stand in front of a Starbucks at like 2 o'clock in the morning and just sit there and do nothing but rant, and I had like a crowd of 8 to 15 people just sitting there watching me, listening to me talk about almost nothing. This was before I was really in politics too. And this was probably like 6 years ago, and I'm just standing there and I'm ranting and raving about almost nothing. But I never stopped talking. It was constant talking, and that was really fun. It's kind of like this show. I've kind of kept going and kept talking about things. I actually think I say and pause and everything less now, except when I'm reading like the screen in front of me or the list in front of me. Is that I guess I'm not as good as Rush Limbaugh, where he can like read and do stuff and click on stuff and continue talking. I'm not that good yet. Maybe if I ever do live, that'll be a little bit different. That'll change. I'm scared to do live because I'm afraid not enough people would call in. I'd run out of the crap to talk about. And I'd be afraid less people listen to it because I couldn't just download it later after I archived it. Yeah. But it's I think this is the format I'm going to really like. Josh Featherstone's obviously not here this weekend. He's always hard to get a hold of. Everyone's schedules are all kinds of crazy, and I'm trying to socialize with people. I had some friends over and we played a nifty game of Risk. We ended up using bullets as pieces because, long story short, we ran out. And they were pretty amazed at this. This is the first time they've ever used bullets as pieces in a board game. So I am making dreams come true every day. Just every day. Oh, God. What's wrong with me? So maybe that's what I'll do in the future. I know some of my episodes have been kind of serious. They've been kind of trying to be educational, and I think that's boring, and I don't think an hour is really enough time to really get into any one topic, and sometimes that one topic can get too much, and then you can't really do multiple topics and be educational. So maybe it's best if I just basically do a grab bag of things and really throw Maya into it and myself, third person, and really just kind of tear apart different subjects and topics, and because I have an opinion on everything. I mean, almost everything anybody throws at me, I have an opinion on it. And except someone asked me what my favorite non-sexual position is, and I don't even know what that means. What's non-sexual position? Like sitting, standing, laying down, laying on my side, laying on my back, laying on my chest? What are they talking about? I don't know. So yeah. There is a new show that's going to be starting. I just went with my buddy Evan he's Bad Evan, B-A-D, Bad Evan. And so he's on Twitter, at Bad Evan. On Twitter, he's got a website, so just look him up on Twitter and look him up on Facebook, Bad Evan. And definitely check out his stuff. He was once one of the top, if you Googled years ago, like 3 or 4 years ago, if you would have Googled gay blog, his page would have come up first. Especially when that was back when like SEOs were a lot different things. So he would have been your top find and a top gay blogger. He's been out of it for years. He's getting back into it. I think he's jealous of what me and my buddy Chris are doing, and he's like, man, I need to get back up on that. And no, I don't know why I used that accent in that weird way. Sorry. So I'm going to plug his show because he wanted to talk tonight, but he's getting tired, and I was kicking his butt in Risk, and I think he was angry. So he didn't get to come on, and he's going to plug himself 90% of the time anyway, so I'm going to plug him for him. So, yeah, Bad Evan. As always, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Facebook, Maya Axton. I also have an Instagram now where I'm putting up lots of fun little pictures because I have nothing better to do with my life other than try to entertain you people. It's Maya_Axton. Basically, if there's a social networking site out there or anything else, look for my name, Maya, M-I-A-H, Axton, A-K-S-T-O-N, everywhere. I'm everywhere. I don't have a Tumblr yet. I think I'm going to get a Tumblr because everybody seems to have a Tumblr, and I don't get it. And I think it's mainly a bunch of teenage girls, and then they get out of their teenage years, and they just kind of stuck there, and it's stupid. I think I just alienated anybody that listen like Tumblr. I'm sorry. This is obviously on Indiana Talks, which is great because Gary Snyder gave me the great opportunity to finally talk to Adam Kokesh on radio of some sort. Since I've never conversed with him before. That was kind of cool. I know he's been doing a lot of interviews, and it's just another interview in the mix, but maybe he might remember me sometime, someday, and he can go, hey, yeah, you're that crazy Maya person on that one show, right? And I'll be like, yeah, man, hey, what's up? And we'll be best buddies forever. I don't really care about hero worship, stuff like that, but I respect that dude, and so, like, I want to work with him and be around him because I respect what he does, and I like what he does, so it's kind of like I want to be his bud, kind of, his acquaintance, like political activist acquaintance, and he's kind of like a beefcake, and so like he attracts like super awesome people. I just need to shut up at this point. Oh yeah, so who knows what's in store for this show and what's going to be the next episode and who knows anything else. I'm really animated right now. I'm surprised I haven't thrown this pen through my monitor. Don't know why. I'm getting super excited at the end of the show. Go figure. I think I might have just lost my marbles to like half of one I had. I don't know how you lose a marble that can't roll. How does that make sense? How do you even do that? Oh, wow. Oh, no. I think next time I won't even pick any topics. I'll just start talking. How would you guys? I bet you guys would eat that shit up. I'll just start talking and you guys listen for it now. I'm sorry. I'm going away now. No, don't listen to me anymore.